All right, so I guess we are live. Yeah. So a very good afternoon, everyone. From 2 to 5:30 p.m. And we are here with XAT 23 exam analysis for all of you. We have a very special guest with us today who himself appeared for the exam and is willing to walk us through his experience of appearing for the exam. But before I call him on board, let me give you a little overview of the exam from a general perspective, right? So a XAT 23 exam was comparatively easier to XAT 22 exam, right? The exam took place in quantitative ability and data interpretation in part 1. Part 2 was mock keyboard testing and 175 minutes. Part 2 was for 5 minutes and part 3 was for 30 minutes, giving an aspirant around 3 hours, 30 minutes of time for the exam. All the questions were in the MCQs, all the questions were in the MCQ format. If I talk about part 1 had around 76 questions, 76 MCQs, and part 3 had 25 MCQs. So if I talk section-wise, so section-wise, verbal ability, logical reasoning was somewhere between easy to moderate. Decision-making, however, was a little moderate, easy to moderate. So if I talk from an overall perspective, the exam was somewhere moderate. So that was my perspective. Of course, the perspective of the exam would vary from person to person, right? Some must have found it easier, some must have found it moderate, difficult, and so on. So to share his experience, we have a very special guest with us today. Please allow me to welcome Mr. Gautam. Hi, Gautam.
Hi.
How are you doing?
Good afternoon. Yeah, I'm doing fine. How are you?
I'm doing good as well. So first of all, congratulations on getting such a good score in your CAT exam. You have gotten calls from couple of IIMs, right? What all IIMs have called you so far?
Yeah, I do have the calls, but I think that it's not, I don't think that it's up to my potential. So I still believe that I could have done better.
You're just being modest. What was your percentile in CAT, Gautam?
98.8. VRC didn't go well. I didn't expect it such a low percentage in VRC. I think I could have done better, and I was performing better in mocks. I could have done better. I think it's a compromise. I guess if I have to go for the calls, it's a compromise.
So it's not easy to get 98 plus percentile, Gautam. You're just being modest.
True.
Okay. So you appeared for the XAT exam yesterday. So how was your experience? Please let our audience know.
See, I was already preparing for CAT. So that was like, it's like it went in flow, and I had to just prepare only one section, especially for that. And I was not so panicked, and it gave me a little bit of like versatility, like to go to the sections which I prefer the most. So that I found it like slightly easier to CAT. I don't know why, but I found it much easier to CAT because it gives me flexibility to choose my sections and to do what I am strong at. So I believe apart from the DM sections, everything was like previous year only and nothing else. But apart from that, it's similar level.
Okay, so let's talk section wise now. If I talk about verbal ability and so what was the level of, was it easy, was it medium?
Okay. Nothing, it's exactly same as like it was in 2022 or 21.
All right, so the first section had 26 questions. So how many questions were you able to attempt out of these 26 questions?
For VALR, I accepted 24 out of 26. I didn't go for the poem RCs because I didn't find it like it was not of my strength, and I didn't had much practice on them, so not to take any risk.
Okay, right. Now, if I talk about decision making, how was your experience appearing for the decision making part?
Decision making part is like it's basically critical reasoning. You don't need to treat it as something else. You don't need to go into the you don't need to wear that shoe, and you don't need to visualize yourself into that situation. It's better like whatever the question has asked, read the passage, read the case, whatever the question has asked, uh, read the criteria, means what has been asked and what needs to be achieved in the most ethical and most efficient.
Had around 21 questions, if I'm not wrong, right? Or
22. This year it was 22
questions. This year we had 22. Finally, talking about the quant section, quantitative ability and data interpretation. How was your experience and difficulty level according to you of the section?
Difficulty level, if you prepare subjectively like for the QA section, then I don't think that JAT is going to be much of a challenge. JAT QA is not going to be much of a challenge. It's like a little bit subjective than CAT. You need to struggle through the questions, you need to struggle a bit, and then you need to arrive at the conclusion, and you need to be very precise. Apart from CAT, like you don't have this calculator feature here. So the calculations and all, it would be a little bit tricky, but yeah, but it's manageable.
Okay, the section.
Arithmetic. If you are good at arithmetic, you will find it means like you can DI sets are there. So if you are good at numbers and if you are good at spotting them, then 6 questions from DI will be there, and you will be pretty in a comfortable situation to get through them. And you should be good at everything. I think like you should have questions in that you cannot be sure of. So sometimes you might not even have many questions from algebra. You might have only 1 or 2 questions. Sometimes you can have only 1 or 2 questions from arithmetic, but at the same time you will have more questions from geometry or some other topics. Time, and you will be able to attempt around 20 questions without any hesitation.
All right, that's great. So what are those
qualities?
Okay.
The inequalities, I didn't find any question. Inequalities were I think inequalities was there. One question from inequality was there. I think we had questions from geometry, we had questions from algebra, we had questions from arithmetic, and directly from permutation and combination and probability this year. We didn't have any question from probability, but in DM section we had a set which was dealing with probability to some extent.
Right. So if you don't mind me asking, Gautam, was this your first attempt for the XAT exam, or had you appeared for it before?
Last year I had filled the form, but I didn't appear for the JAT since my CAT didn't go well. So I decided to join back on my job. And you can tell me that this was my first attempt at JAT.
Okay, great. So according to you, if you're supposed overall, if I talk about part 1,
I will say it's moderate. It's not easy, it's not difficult, but it's moderate.
And what were those couple of strategies that you think worked for you during your exam? What strategy did you follow for, let's say, for verbal ability first?
Ours is daily. I think it is going to haunt you. It is definitely going to haunt you. Means it happened with me. Means I find like whenever, then it's maintaining as usual.
Okay, so basically verbal ability is such a section that you get in the CAT exam also, in XAT exam also. And considered to be the most difficult entrances for MBA, right? And the major difference between both of these is that in CAT, it is more of an RC driven, whereas in XAT, it is just 50% because you have logical reasoning also with that. So how did you...
It's basically critical.
I'm sorry?
It's basically critical reasoning. You had like you had some filling the blanks questions, or you had some grammatical questions. So these things make it a little bit different, that which sentence are correct or which sentence are not. Most of the times it happens with me that I find it like if I am able to read it through, and
which is very different from all the MBA entrances that you have. It is a dynamic that you have.
Yeah, decision making is something like if I had attempted all the questions, but I cannot be still sure that how many I would get it right. But what I thought during my attempt was like, I was planning that whatever has been asked, you have to achieve that goal, keeping things as ethical as possible and as efficient as possible. It's basically critical reasoning, nothing else. Able to understand the questions properly, then I think it will be easier to arrive at a conclusion.
Right. That's true. That's absolutely true. Okay, so Gautam, on a general basis, I know you're from an engineering background. So are you good at maths, or is maths something that haunts you? Which categories?
No, maths is not something that haunts me. It has been my forte, but it's like okay, I had been away from mathematics for quite a long time due to my job restrictions and all. But yeah, it's my forte, and I think I love solving them. So even if my preparation is strategy, during my preparation, I will spend most of the time solving QA. So I love that. I love that subject.
In these three sessions, I believe QA must have been your strength, right? Something that you
Correct. Actually, there's a saying in JAT like you need to like VA, VARC, VLR, what you call in JAT, and DM. You need to clear the cutoffs. My strategy was to clear the cutoffs in those sections, and for like a score boost, I had this QA in my mind.
Right. So next we had part 2, which I think was introduced for the first time here. I don't know if
Yeah.
That was mock testing. What was it all about?
It was just basically that you had to type a essay. So basically, you needed to check your keyboard that all the keys are functioning well. And if you find any problem, then the keyboard was supposed to be replaced. And if you type them, then basically you will be covering major portion of your keyboard. And last year, I think they had some problems, like many students find out that the keyboard was not working in the middle of the writing the essays. So that was the issue, and that's why they bring the name.
All right. That's good. Okay, so let's talk about the third part now, that is GK and essay. So how was the GK section for you?
50% of the topics were quite familiar with me. I was not familiar with the books and authors, but apart from that, the general questions were basically from current affairs. If you have gone through like 3 to 4 months of current affairs, then I think 50%, more than 50% of the questions will come easy to you.
Right. There's no negative marking in part 3, right? If I'm not wrong.
No negative marking in part 3. But if you are targeting SLRI, then you need to take part 3 as seriously as you are taking your part 1.
Right. So basically, GK comprises of two things. You have current affairs and the GK exam this year.
Current affairs was the most demanding part. So
okay.
Read the papers. I think that is going to help.
And okay, so like when you're preparing for current affairs, you somewhere in your mind has decided, okay, this has happened recently, so this might come, and you are like, okay.
Papers, it's just because of my curiosity. I like to be like aware of the things that's going around me. It's just a curiosity, and whatever means I know about the current videos in my leisure time. I would watch like some world affairs news or international relations or whatever that developments.
Keeping up with the general updates of or day on day current affairs, so you can very easily appear for the GK section. Does not really require a special hard and fast rule. If you're reading a
no need.
Or you're
that's more than sufficient.
Yeah, that's more.
Was like I attempted this about the risk. Risk is quite essential it's like essential to the soul. So I attempted that.
Right. So a lot of people have this apprehension. They have this doubt that essay contains or that Gautam.
No, GK and essay, they don't carry. GK has some marks, but essay doesn't have any marks. So it won't be contributing to about the position that you had taken in your essay, and you will be grilled on that. So if it because when you do appear for the PI round, they will be taking up the things that you've written in your essay, and you will be correct. You can't take it like not an optional. You have to appear for it. So there were 3 topics. The topics. So first was risk taking is essential or not. That was the first topic which I think you took up. You wrote on that one, right? The second topic was rapid decarbonization in Indian context, and third was people with half logical skills, but they are smart workers as they don't doubt about themselves. So they're quite interesting topics to write an essay on. Like you have certain word limit, but if such a topic is given to somebody like me, I would have thousands of things to talk about. So just have to be very precise about it, right? So what were your tips, right? Section. The 2 topics, like the first and the third one, they were very subjective, and it could be formed. If you had an opinion, you can bring it up based upon your experience. If you had some experience on those topics, then you can write it down. But the second one, you needed some facts and you needed to know some details around the Indian environment, like what are the things, what are the infrastructures that are going on, and what are the what are the steps that government is taking towards development. You need to be familiar with them to answer the second one.
Right. So it's basically the decision. Of course, you can choose any one of these topics. So you have to, one can be very smart in that. So if you're somebody who is good with statistics or who knows a lot of factual content about something, then they should go with a topic like sex. If you just want to give ideas and don't be very factual about something, then you can go with a general topic like the first one. Right? Yeah. I think that is the strategy that usually would work, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So another very important thing that I would want to discuss, and which I have seen a lot of students tend to take for granted, is the relevance of appearing for mocks or taking mocks before your exam. So what was the significance of taking mocks in your preparation, Gautam?
If you don't take mocks, you will never get to know. It will be a surprise. In any case, it is going to be a surprise for you on the D-Day. And if you're not taking mocks, you won't be prepared for the main exam. Right. And you cannot even derive a strategy without taking mocks. So at least 5 to 6 marks, for GAT is very essential.
Right. It helps you understand the exam pattern, the syllabus.
Correct.
And I think the best thing is because you have sectional timings and sectional cutoffs in certain exams, so it does.
You need to plan. And if you do not go through the mocks, you want to be able to realize what strategy you need to follow, which section you need to focus on, and if you are going to clear the cutoffs or not. You need to have some knowledge about this in your preparation timing only. So
correct. Yeah. Time management skills, it helps you develop that to manage your time through the 3 sections. And of course, the exam questions like essay writing and everything. So it helps you manage your time. That's very, very important. So what I have seen with a lot of aspirants is that they start taking mocks 1 month prior to the exam, which I think is a very wrong strategy. You should be taking the mocks from the very first week. I would say the day that you start preparing for an exam, you should start taking mocks from there on. That
you should have some idea. You should have some idea where you are heading. You should have some idea.
Right. Great. Okay. So now what's next after the aptitude exam, Gautam?
I will wait for the results. I will not even checking what are the things what are the answers that I'm given right or wrong. I don't want to discuss them also because I don't want any negative things like hampering my GDPA preparation. Right. Whatever the opportunities I have, I will be focusing on them.
Right. That's great, Gautam. So how are your GDPR preparations going on for CAT now?
I have just started and I'm focusing on the current affairs, and since I had 4 years of job experience, so I will be focusing on developments in my sector. Right. And thinking about if somebody is talking to me, then what things they can ask and what are the relevant things they can go on. So I will be focusing on, I will be deriving the questions on my own and then try to answer them.
Yeah, now that we're talking about GDPR, that reminds me, any CAT aspirant who has scored above 96 percentile is eligible to get free GDPR coachings from Hitbullseye. So if you're somebody out there who has scored above 96 percentile, do get in touch with us. We will prepare you for the next round, that is GDPR, free of cost. Okay, Gautam. So thank you so much for being with us today. It was a pleasure to have you. I would want to wish you all the best.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
thank you.
All the best for your future. I hope that you convert to the best B school, your desirable B school, and then we'll have another conversation about your success. Right? So,
sure.
So much. I hope this session was useful to all of you. If you have any questions, any queries, please feel free to post them in the comment section and we'll be proactive to answer it for you. We'll be back with yet another important guest and have certain more interesting discussions. Till then, share this with your friends, like it, and subscribe to our channel. Thank you so much. Have a good day. Bye-bye.